welcome. For those that I've never worked with before, this is a combined webinar between myself and FAnews. I'd like to thank Michelle and Renette and the very, very professional team at FAnews for everything they've done to put us together and share their illustrious database of winning consultants and agents and brokers with us. For those that I've never worked with before, my name is Anthony Morris. I've spoken at the $1 Million Roundtable 4 times, spent 12 years in Canada and the United States, living on an airplane, sharing ideas, concepts, campaigns, powerful conversations, practical plug-and-play, step-by-step techniques and approaches with people from the investment, the short-term, and the life insurance world. We are recording today's session. For those of you that normally log on to collect some CPD points and then go and have a cup of coffee, we are watching you, not by drone, but we are recording the fact that you attend the entire session. If you are going to go for a cup of coffee or go into a meeting, it's probably going to be the most expensive meeting you've ever had in your life, because you're going to miss an absolute powerhouse of the very best ideas. I've jam-packed today's session with everything you need to be more successful in your business. If I could ask everybody to mute your microphone and also mute your video, that's just going to save us on bandwidth. So the purpose of today is really to equip you to pivot your business. I know that's kind of an old saying in these COVID times, but how do you cope in this new virtual environment? How do you maintain relevance with clients? How do you get out there and share with them inspiring and interesting conversations to be able to lift them to take action on their financial affairs, both on the short-term side, the life side, and the investment side. So we're trying to make today as relevant as possible. And off we go with my opening statement. The first thing you need to understand is that you're not in the financial business, you're in the relationship business. It doesn't matter what it is that you're actually selling in terms of the product. We need to understand the magic of relationships and the magic of experience. Some non-industry examples to get going. Disneyland has a vice president of parking lots. Why would Disneyland have a vice president of parking lots? Well, because your first and last experience of Disney is the parking lot. You arrive there at 5 to 8 in the morning. You've got 3 sub-consumers in the car behind you, aged 3, 8, and 11. You enjoy an amazing day at the Magic Kingdom. 7,000 times a year, the following combination of things happens at Disney World, at Disneyland in Florida. 7,000 times a year. Someone locks their keys in their car with the engine on and their lights on as well. Now you have to be, as they say in Afrikaans, doof to pull off that combination of things. 7,000 times a year. So you come back from a magical day with the kids at Space Mountain, Goofy, Mickey Mouse, etc., and you find that your battery's flat and you're out of gas and you can't access your keys. Disney says that's their problem in terms of an experience. You would find a 3x5 stick-em note stuck on the window that says, "Hi, we came by, your engine's running, your lights are on, we noticed that your keys were locked in your car." But that's okay. If you come to the green, pink, blue, or white booth at the end of this row, we're waiting to get you gassed up, juiced up, and on your way. Thanks for spending the day at the Magic Kingdom. It's a system, folks. Do you have a system to deliver on customer and client experience? If you understand that products are becoming a commodity, okay? Used to be that there used to be like 3 or 4 players in the short-term insurance market. Now we've got like 104 discount insurers making all sorts of promises, etc. Ritz-Carlton, my favorite hotel chain, another example of superior client experience. I was staying at the Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta, Georgia, getting ready for my big seminar, and dropped a cufflink. It rolled under the bed, and I reached under the bed for the cufflink, and I found a crumpled up piece of paper. I thought, gevang. I didn't, because I don't think in Afrikaans, but you get the point. And I reached under there and I opened up the piece of paper. It was a note from the housekeeper. It said, "Yes, we cleaned under here too. Thanks for spending your stay at the Ritz-Carlton. Have a fabulous day." A different kind of experience. Did a lot of work in Australia in the early 2000s, and a woman came up to me at a seminar. She said she bought a Lexus car. Beautiful upmarket $100,000 vehicle. And she says that as they were taking the test drive, the salesman said to her, "What type of music do you prefer?" She says, "Classical." He says, "Beethoven." She says, "No, Brahms and Strauss." And when the $100,000 vehicle was delivered, there were some Brahms and Strauss CDs on the seat with a note from the guy that said, "Thanks for selecting me, because I know you have a choice. Here's to the next 20 years of your vehicle buying experience together." If you have any family, friends, or work colleagues who'd appreciate a more personalized approach to their next vehicle purchase, Won't you share some of my business cards there in the glove compartment? I said, how many people have you shared the story of the Lexus car? She says, not one. I said, how many people have you shared the story of the CD? She says, I've told about 100 people that story. Not one of them said, where's the dealership? All of them said, who's that person? How to get hold of him? And I recently ran out of his business cards and asked him for some more. Now, there's an opening question to you. Whether you're a broker selling insurance, whether you're in the investment business, whether you're in the life business, financial planning business, here's the overarching question for today's 2-hour webinar. Where are the CDs in your Lexus? What is it that I get from you that I don't get from the bank broker, get from the agent up the road? Because sustainable competitive advantage, my friends, is created through uniqueness, not through sameness. And in a world of commoditization, you have to be radically different in terms of how you engage clients. And I'm hoping in the 2 hours we spend today that I could equip you with as many tools and techniques and strategies and tactics, conversations and campaigns for you to up your game in this topsy-turvy, crazy world that we live in. Right in the last section, the last 5 minutes, I'll be sharing details of the exciting 3-month program which FAnews and I are launching today. You'll be able to be with me literally every week for 3 months, powering you up with the playbook that you need to lift your performance, your revenues, and your client engagement. Understand that you're not in the solutions business. Get your head out of the fact that you sell financial products. You're in the problems business. As the late, great Ben Feldman used to say, problem, problem, find the problem, or problem, problem, create the problem. I mean, let's think of some non-industry examples. When was the last time you went for a clear dental checkup? Have you ever noticed you sit in the chair, dentist takes out that hook. If you haven't got a cavity, he makes one. That's exactly how they work. When was the last time you went to a lawyer who said, oh, this is going to be a really, really simple case? Because the longer it takes, the more money they make. There's no such thing as a simple divorce, folks. And I believe cynically that chiropractors have got an x-ray of one spine that they're showing to everybody. How do you know that it's your spine? Just think about this, okay? So let's get going and talk about the tsunami wave. Because folks, there's a tsunami wave coming at people in this country, especially if your clients are on the top 20% of the South African economy and you're focusing your client engagement in that area. A huge tsunami wave. And folks, if there's a tsunami wave coming your way, you need to expose your prospects to this demographic tsunami coming their way in South Africa and in fact beyond. But let's talk about our country. Very simply on the slide. 3% of the population pays 97% of the tax. That's a fact. Now that we're in COVID times and we're going to face an economic epidemic as well, there's 50% unemployment in the economically active age 15 to age 49 age group. Fold on top of that, the third leg of this drama, we have a 15% HIV positive population. So folks, there's the tsunami wave coming. And if you're facing a tsunami wave, you can tell your clients they have some simple choices, okay? They can sit on the beach listening to motivational speeches on their iPad or their phone, or they can pray, and that would be a choice. They can hope that a helicopter comes to rescue them and somehow plucks them to safety. Option 3, take some surfing lessons really fast and buy a surfboard. And you as their broker can help them with the surfing lessons and the surfboard. So equip them with a surfboard and surfing lessons to prevent themselves from financially drowning in the inevitable realities which we face in the country. And trust me, it's no better anywhere else you go in the world. I've spoken and coached in 50 countries around the world, spent 12 years in the United States and Canada. I'm still a Canadian permanent resident, but I don't want to go back there. It's too damn cold. This is still the best place to be. If people are ready and people want to leave for Perth, they should probably do it now because the rand-dollar exchange rate is not moving back in our favor. So that's kind of the end of my opening statement. I see that we've got 93 people on board right now, with 85 who signed up. I like it when the message spreads virally. If you've got friends who should be on this webinar, you can certainly send them the link, and let's see if we can get more than 100 people participating. Now, you're going to get a lot of information thrown at you today, okay? I took Valium, I hope you took Red Bull, and I'll kind of meet you halfway. I do deliver very, very quickly, but once again, we are recording this webinar. We will send you the slide deck, and we will send you the entire recording so that you can kind of go through it in your own time. And what I want you to do after today, as soon as you possibly can, is sit down and draw up an action list of everything that I share with you that you could use. And then you can prioritize it. A items are free. If I tell you to say something to clients, you're talking to clients anyway. It doesn't cost you anything to kind of mix in my pithy, high voltage vocabulary to move hearts, minds, and ultimately client commitment. B items are things that take a little bit of time. Some of the campaigns we'll talk about will take you a little bit of time to get out there on the email. I always say to people, if you've got a finger and you can push send, you can be more successful with my tools and content. C items are things that cost a little bit of money. That's why it's good to have credit cards with big limits, because you can put 6,000 Rand on a credit card for something I'll share with you today. You can pay it off over 3 or 4 months, and you'll find by the time you paid it off, you turned your 6,000 literally into 60,000. And D items are things that involve a serious investment of some kind. You know, I was sitting with a top producer in the United States, and I said, you know, Anthony, I'm sitting on $500,000 a year. I have to get to $1 million. I have to get to $1 million. Do you have any marketing ideas? And I said, no, I have some marketing ideas, but I'm not going to share them with you. I said, I need to talk about 3 things. I said, that website of yours that's held together with sticky tape and rubber bands. Okay, you need to fix that website because it's your shop front. And we haven't got time to talk about websites today, but you'll find some tools that you could integrate in your website to make it more appealing and more of what I call a lead magnet for your business. Is your website a lead magnet? If not, you've got to relook at your website, because we are, after all, living in the digital economy. And whether your clients are 21 or they're 81, they're checking you out, they're looking at reviews, they're looking at LinkedIn, they're looking at your website before they even engage you. The other thing I said to him is that assistant of yours. I said, I know that you went cheap when you went and got an assistant. You kind of stole her from another broker, and she's the one in your office who believes that your practice would be amazing if you could just get rid of all the clients, because the clients are the main problem in this business, these pesky clients who keep asking for stuff. I said, you want to get the best assistants, which means you need to pay well. I said, in that office of yours in the wrong area of town, you want to kind of move your office. I said, because you spend days and days every year driving around through the snow and the wind to avoid actually meeting clients at your office because you're embarrassed of your office. Take a look at the top dentists in town. They have a beautiful, beautiful practice. Attention to detail paid from the waiting room to everything involved in that customer interface. So that's what you can do with today. And if you haven't got a lot of money, because there are 2 types of people on this webinar. Some of you have got a lot of money and you've got a tax problem, not an income problem. Because you've got a lot of money, you haven't got a lot of time. There's some of you on this webinar, I couldn't get into your diary next week because next Tuesday has been full for the last 2 or 3 weeks. In which case, I want you to take some of SARS's money and invest it in the greatest investment vehicle in the world, called your practice, to produce an extraordinary return. And then there's probably quite a bunch of you listening to this and paying and on this webinar. And your challenge is this, is that you've got lots of time because you're spending your time with all the wrong people. And you can't turn pig's ears into French handbags. And some of you are hanging around with the wrong kind of clients who are wasting your time. They're postponing, they make commitments in meetings with you and don't follow through. They don't allow you in the door to do annual reviews. They're not open to be disturbed or questioned about their financial direction. And so obviously you decide if you've got more time or you've got more money, because there's no gray area between these two. Very, very quickly, in terms of competitiveness, if you're standing in a room filled with Excel spreadsheets and you're holding one of those old Chinese abacuses, you stand to lose. If you're standing in a kitchen filled with microwave ovens and you're holding a candle in terms of your engagement process, your marketing, in terms of the tools you're using in your business, you stand to lose. If you're racing against Lewis Hamilton with a tricycle, I guarantee that you'll lose, because in today's economy, it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow. And I want to really encourage you to take quick action on today. Some of today's items are not a 2, 3, 4 week item. They're things that you'll send out to clients literally this afternoon to make an enormous difference to their lives. So let me talk about your job description. Whether you sell short-term investments or life, it remains the same. Your job description is to befriend, intrigue, disturb, and then offer options. You have to have a befriending campaign. Okay, it's not a nice example, but the Japanese catch a lot of whales because they use very big boats with very big nets. And if you want to go out there and have a prospecting campaign and have a prospecting toolbox and process, it needs to be a system. My friend Wayne Cotton, a great top of the table speaker in Kelowna, British Columbia, says, if you have a problem, turn it into a process or a procedure, and it won't be a problem anymore. So let's talk about what your befriending campaigns look like. What are you doing to keep that pipeline full so that you've constantly got options and choices about the types of clients that you do business with? I'm telling you that I've worked in my private coaching with some brokers and agents around the world, multi-million-dollar producers who've gone from 800 clients down to 400, taken another 6 weeks of vacation, and their production's gone up 40% a year, because you don't want everybody as clients in today's world. The second thing is you have to intrigue people. You have to give people what Tony Gordon, great MDRT president, says is an ooh moment at every point in client engagement. What is it that you do to enchant people, to give people a hypnotic experience, to develop reputational momentum that people actually talk about? Because what you do is boring. Sorry to be direct, folks, and I hope you're using that line with your clients. Should I be honest or diplomatic with you? If you want me to be honest with you instead of diplomatic, I'm here to tell you that what you do is dead bloody boring. No one woke up this morning wanting some more whole life and some more endowments and to review their short-term insurance portfolio. It's just stuff to people. It's the most unexciting thing, and so you have to learn how to be intriguing. You have to disturb people. You have to learn how to stir their thinking a little bit and get them to think out of the box and challenge their paradigm and their belief system about the way things are. And you will find 4 or 5 power tools I'll share with you today that would change your business forever if you use them engaging clients. And then the fourth area, which is the area the companies train on. Isn't it interesting that the insurance companies that you work for or work with, your insurance carrier partners, dive right into number 4 and they just share options? It's just all about product. And yet it's interesting, we've tried to replace you with robo-advisors. I know one major investment bank spent $700 million on their robo-advisor in the last 3 years and shut it down. They could have paid me $7 million. And I would have told them something interesting. And that is, according to the $1 Million Roundtable, in 79% of the time, in the top 20% of the economy, in 48 countries around the world, South Africa included, people prefer to get their financial advice face-to-face from a human being. So there's never been a more important time for you. There's never been a more magnificent time for you, because I want to take COVID and turn it on its head for you. This is not formal research. This is just my gut feel, but I kind of have contacts all over the industry. I think we've lost 1/3 of all the brokers in South Africa since lockdown. 1/3 of all the brokers are gone out of the business. The kind of people that walked around telling people you should have 6 months emergency fund in cash, but didn't have 6 months emergency fund for themselves. And the universe punished them and sent them out of the business. The cool thing is, never mind lockdown, never mind financial pandemics that we face, we haven't lost 1/3 of the consumers or clients in the top 20% of the economy, which means that there are more orphans out there than ever before. There are more people out there looking for a quality broker or financial advisor right now. So first thing, let's talk about stop calling yourself a financial advisor or a short-term insurance agent or broker, because nobody wants to meet one. I mean, you're at the family braai or the neighborhood braai, or you're on the golf course, someone says, what do you do for a living? You say, I'm a short-term insurance broker. People run away from you like there's a bad smell around you. You have to be different in the befriending process. So let's give you some options about other things that you can say. And remember, you don't have to take pictures of the screen or try and write this down. We're sending you the recording and the slide deck after today. You have to give people that ooh moment, otherwise they have an oh moment. So when you tell someone that you're a financial advisor, they go, oh, because they have an assumption, they know what that means, and they think that they've got someone. I help protect middle-aged people from their parents. Try that one on and have a person say, oh, I know what that's all about. I help protect middle-aged people from their parents. What do you do for a living? I reposition family balance sheets. And then you pause. You don't say pause, you just pause. Funding for possibility and probability. You see, most insurance portfolios on the life side insure for possibility, which is the possibility that you'll die, but they don't insure for probability. Do you know that there's an 80% chance you will suffer from cancer, heart attack, or stroke at some point in your lifetime? Now, it's a bit of a rigged statistic. You might not get it, but your next door neighbor has a heart attack, recovers from it, has a stroke, recovers from it, and then catches cancer when they're in the 80s. But if you divide all the diagnoses into the population, it is an 8 out of 10 chance. So that's called funding for probability. Mr. Client, we call those living benefits. You see, there are two types of life insurance. The one pays out when you die. The other one pays out when you catch what will probably kill you. Right now, you might be set up to have the wrong kind of heart attack. What happens if you have a half a heart attack? Which means that your heart is damaged, but your life insurance doesn't pay out. What do you do for a living? I eradicate waste in people's short-term insurance spend and turn liabilities into family assets through the savings and consolidation. What a beautiful way to talk to people differently. What do you do for a living? I reposition clients' risk management, finding money in their monthly short-term insurance spend to fund the family financial plan with the savings. So you can use all of these things. What do you do for a living? I build plans for the next 2009. Mr. Client, you remember 2009? Remember what happened? Okay, do you suppose at some point we're going to have another 2009? Absolutely. Do you want to happen next time what happened last time? Can you show me the plan you've got in place to actually profit from the next market downturn? Because I've got a couple of powerful ideas to share with you. Let me buy you lunch. Let me bring over takeout. Let me bring over Mr. Delivery or Uber Eats. You have to eat dinner. We'll sit around the dining room table and exchange some ideas. What do you do for a living? I'm in the longevity risk business. You have to take longevity risk off the table because longevity risk is like an accelerant. You've got this financial fire burning. You've got some liquid you think is water. You squirt that lighter fluid on there. You're going to accelerate that fire. If I could show you a way to become wealthy or guarantee that you'll never be poor, which one do you want to look at first? Folks, you don't need some investment personality software to work out people's investor personality. You need one question. If I could show you a way to become wealthy or guarantee that you'll never be poor, which would you want to look at first? Use that on the beach and the golf course. Use that around the neighborhood braai this holiday season. You know, are what you're saying and what you're sending bringing guaranteed outcomes? And I'll give you two examples of a guaranteed outcome. I was at the $1 Million Round Table in Las Vegas, and I saw David Copperfield was in town, and I always enjoyed a good magic show, so I went to see David Copperfield. And he called me up on the stage. There was this bouncing ball going around the auditorium, and if the ball was on your hands when he blew the whistle, you had to go up on stage, which I did. He put me in a cage, covered it in a black sheet, and he made me disappear. Now, this is not Anthony Morris, this is someone else, okay? David Copperfield made me disappear. You're probably going, how did he make you disappear? Well, he took me backstage afterwards, made me promise him, gave me an autographed copy of his book, took a selfie, which I picked up enlarged the next day of me and David Copperfield. Thanks, Anthony, for helping me with my show. And I've never, ever told anyone how David Copperfield made me disappear. But is there a guaranteed outcome in his show? Do you suppose when David Copperfield covers that Buick with a sheet and he's about to pull that sheet off, do you suppose he goes, ooh, I hope the car's gone? He knows exactly what's going to happen. Do you know exactly what's going to happen when you email certain things to clients, when you say certain things to clients, when you show certain things to clients? And we are, after all, in the middle of the greatest time in history when we've got at our fingertips more microtechnology than we used to land the first man on the moon. I mean, the millennials won't relate to this, but it wasn't so long ago that first mobile phone, the Siemens C20 motor phone, you had a battery pack in the boot of your car the size of a VCR and a little bunny aerial, okay? It was this blue haze of radiation. As you drove through Clifton and Camps Bay in the summer, you would set off all the car alarms because of all the radiation. Cats would just die from tumors as you drove through. And so you can have things in the notes section in a draft email ready to roll that you can share with people these days that can befriend and intrigue and disturb them in a matter of seconds. The other example of guaranteed outcomes. Have you ever wondered why insurance companies don't go bankrupt? I'll tell you why. It's very simple. They've taken every claim in the history of claims and every person in the history of who has claimed, every claimant, and they put them into an actuarial model, and they know exactly how many cars are going to crash this weekend in Gauteng and what type. They know exactly how many people in KwaZulu-Natal in the age 40 to age 50 category are going to get pancreatic cancer, which reminds me of that old joke. You know the difference between an actuary and a Sicilian actuary. An actuary can tell you with a reasonable degree of probability how many males between 40 and 50 will die next year. The Sicilian actuary can give you the home addresses and phone numbers. But, you know, it's amazing how few of your clients actually understand, let's say on the life side, how an insurance company works. People pay premiums for 7 years because they're stupid. Then they lapse their policies. During those 7 years, we take underwriting profits and we buy skyscrapers and shopping malls. All the skyscrapers and all shopping malls in South Africa are owned by the life insurance companies. Liberty Life owns Sandton City. Gateway or the Pavilion in Durban is owned by Old Mutual. I think Sanlam owns N1, the N1 Mall in Cape Town. And so what they do is they buy these hard assets that they get to lease forever. So they're actually in the property business. Then when there's an opportunity in the stock market, they can take these shopping centers and skyscrapers with long guaranteed leases to blue chip companies, leverage them at the bank, and they can take advantage of a short-term opportunity in the share market. That's how insurance companies work, because they know out of 1,000 people, 20 of them will die this year. They don't know which ones, but it doesn't matter, okay? So you're not in the financial business, you're in the relationships business. First question, and I want to make this really personal for a while, if you prefer me to be honest instead of diplomatic, okay? If I audited the top 100 family, friends, and members of your social circle to check if you've offered them your service, what would the outcome of that audit be? So I want you to think about this. The people in your phone, your closest family, friends, and members of your social circle, have you offered them your service on the short-term investment or life side of the business? Okay. Now, there are 3 reasons why you haven't. You did in week 2, and they declined you, and you gave up. You know, you were sitting as you came out of your initial training across the table from rich Uncle Harry at a braai, and you said, Uncle Harry, you wouldn't by any chance be interested in me taking a look at what you're doing with your insurance? He looked at you and he said, well, said to himself, you were working for Mazda selling cars last week. How can you know anything about insurance? So he said, no, I'm good. I'm fixed. Thank you. And since then, you've forgotten to ask. He doesn't know how your business works and that you're still looking for new clients. He actually thinks that people line up outside your door with the ID book at 9 o'clock every morning to buy policies from you. So you've got to go back to him in a campaign that I'm about to share with you. Second thing is you wouldn't know how to. And so not asking stops an embarrassing rejection from happening. You know, pick your next door neighbor. You don't want to try and punt on him as a potential client because you wouldn't know how to raise the subject. And so, you know, you don't want to get that stink eye look at 7 o'clock every morning when you leave for work, when he looks at you and goes, I can't believe you tried to turn me into a client. Hopefully this webinar will give you the equipment, the tools, and the wherewithal to be able to actually ask that person who's close to you. Or it's because you don't believe in doing business with family and friends. I was in England doing some coaching. One of the top brokers, they said, I don't do business with family and friends. I said, why? Do you prefer to rip off strangers? And he was terribly offended, which they get in the UK. Very, very important that you actually make sure that everybody's covered. And if you have to actually say to them, you know, John, I was thinking about you and I the other day, and I realized I've been running around looking after everyone in my world except those that I care about most. Do you have the confidence in your existing broker that we could get together for a 20-minute obligation-free exchange of ideas? Won't try and sell you anything. I'll be gone after 20 minutes, and the chances are you'll know a couple of things about your money after the 20 minutes than you never did before. There's no reason you couldn't be trying that with everybody in your world. But let's get formal here. I'm going to give you a family and friends campaign right now, and I want you to run it with those 100 people. You'll know which other tools to share with them by the time we finish today. George, if his name is George. If it's Peter, you would put in Peter at this point. Stay with me, I know you're tired. There's something I've been wanting to run by you for quite some time, but was reluctant to make you feel uncomfortable in any way. This will arouse some curiosity. You remove those brackets. That's my instruction to you. Stay with me. As you might already realize, I do some pretty important work for my clients. I help them to gain a high level of confidence, clarity, and control over their personal finances or their short-term insurance spend. Obviously, this type of work is very personal and confidential, and I just want to make sure that whatever advice you're currently getting is as complete and of the highest caliber possible. Would you be open to sitting down with me at some point for a complimentary assessment of your situation? I promise that no other members of our family, rugby club, golf club, Rotary club, church, whatever, will become privy to our conversation. Send that as a WhatsApp to those 100 people, okay? And send them some of the power tools we'll talk about later on. Don't put me in a situation of having to explain my absence in your life to your loved ones. okay? Then you, if they ignore, now, none of the people you send this to are going to phone you up and say, gee, Bob, the broker, thanks so very much. Come over and see me and look at my insurance. It's not going to happen, folks. I'll buy you a steak dinner if it does. So you have to be a little bit professionally persistent. And so you send them your let me off the hook letter, okay? And you send them a WhatsApp that says, I've emailed you my let me off the hook letter. I sent you a WhatsApp a few days ago, haven't heard from you, and I'll never raise the subject again, except once a year, every year on the 19th of November, the 1st of December, which becomes your non-client anniversary. I'm going to phone and check that you're still happy with a broker who's handling your insurance. Two versions of this let me off the hook letter, okay? To whom it may concern, this letter documents the fact that I've today declined the opportunity for my friend, cousin, golfing buddy, Johan Smith, to review my financial plan for life to ensure that my family doesn't suffer financially if I live too long, die too soon, become critically ill or disabled along the way. I've explained to Johan, that I'm happy with the written documented financial plan I have in place and comfortable that my progress is correctly updated during my last annual review with my current advisor, and I expect him not to receive any communication at any point in the future with regards to this decision. The short-term version, this letter documents the fact that I've today declined the opportunity for my friend or buddy Johan Smith to review my short-term insurance portfolio to ensure that my family does not suffer financially if I continue to carry the wrong kind of short-term coverage of family assets. Unnecessary waste in my monthly insurance spend is not converted into growth assets in my wealth creation plan, and my short-term portfolio excludes special risks or new assets and impoverishes my family or business in the event of a claim. I've explained to Johan that I'm happy with the coverage I have in place and comfortable that my progress was correctly updated during my last insurance review with my current broker. I expect Johan not to receive any communication at any point in the future with regards to this decision. Run a family and friends campaign. Now, I thought I'd mix things up here and throw a couple of kind of creative, out-of-the-box marketing ideas at you, because it becomes very hard to get to people these days. People have got gatekeepers, they've got walls, they've got barriers in front of them, and sometimes you have to use just a little bit of creativity to break through. Those that have worked with me before know my famous arm and leg story. You go to the mannequin shop and you get a big perspex or plastic arm and leg. You could use a little doll's one if you want to, but the bigger the better, and you courier it to your prospective client. And attached to the leg of the arm and leg, you attach an envelope, and all it says on the envelope is, we'd give an arm and a leg for 20 minutes of your time, okay? And when they open it up, out comes your one-page sales letter that says, got your attention, we'd like to hold it for another 3 paragraphs and 2 minutes as we introduce ourselves. And you go through, obviously telling people who you are, what makes you different, and why you'd like to spend time with them. And you close the letter with the sentence, P.S. if we were this creative and capture your attention as a potential client, imagine how creative we'd become when you become an actual client. Makes you think, doesn't it? The next one, you go and get from Conceptual Glass an empty, must be empty, peanut butter jar. And you write a one-page sales letter to the client or the prospect, and you insert it in the peanut butter jar. Then you get that super glue, the kind of nail glue that the woman used, and you super glue the lid closed. And you put it in a box with some styrofoam or polystyrene chips. You can get them at Walton Stationers, and you send that by courier to your prospect. Let's say it's a business client you're trying to reach or get through to or make an impression. I love sending this to people at the office because they will share this with absolutely everybody in the office. And by the time you arrive, you're an absolute legend in your own lunchtime. And the notes that you enclose, when they finally break that thing open, which they will, because they can't get the lid off, they get other people to try and get the lid off. Eventually you put on a canvas and a hammer, break open the jar, and out comes your letter that says, is your current broker this hard to get to? If you suspect you haven't received the service you deserve, give us a call for a high level of personal attention. And that's a great, great way of getting to people. Close the letter out with a PS. If we were this creative and capture your attention as a potential client, imagine how creative we'd become when we rearrange your short-term insurance portfolio. Another option, mail them a 10 Rand note. Go and get a beautiful, new, crisp 10 Rand note from the bank, and you attach it by paperclip to a self-addressed envelope, stamped and addressed back to you at your office. And you attach a card that says, if you already have enough of these because you have the right insurance coverage in place, please confidently return the money to me. Send this to a person at the place of work. They'll show it to absolutely everybody in their offices as a very creative marketing piece. If you need more of them and are unsure of how your current plan is set up to cover all risks you face, please keep the money and call us without delay for a complimentary opinion on your portfolio. Okay, because folks, we've become a boring industry. We've become a bunch of people who are all trying the same old stuff, and we wonder why it doesn't work. The cool thing is this: entrepreneurs, okay, bureaucrats don't like this stuff because it's not the normal boring marketing. But entrepreneurs, the ones who've got all the money, business owners, they got to where they are today by being creative. And once you can get into those networks, you would be amazed at the kind of referrals that you can get. So let me bring you around to one of my favorite things that I've ever shared globally, which just has spectacular success. Some of you are going to do this and you're never going to look back. Some of you are going to look at the idea and think about doing it, but never get around to it. And you'll find that all my ideas that you don't implement are guaranteed to not work. So make sure that you actually do this. You know, the old insurance practice of sending a person a birthday card. Well, let me be a contrarian in your life. Let me turn that upside down. If the only time I've heard from you all year is to get a birthday card, sorry, I'm looking for someone better than that. So I'd rather that you don't send birthday cards to everybody and that you sent or delivered a custom birthday cake to your top 50 clients. You will be amazed at what starts happening to your client building. So there's an example of a birthday cake. That's actually cake, okay? That's to a chief executive or a managing director or the company owner. There's another example of a birthday cake. That's for someone who enjoys their shopping. So you send that to your shopaholic client or you deliver it to your shopaholic client. That's for your client Sam, who's very into working out at the gym. There's one to your doctor client. Probably wondering where you get these cakes. Well, what you do is you go to Woolworths or you go to Pick and Pay, Spar Shop, or your ShopRite Checkers, and you lean in across the bakery counter conspiratorially, and you take some pictures of these cakes, and then you say to the person behind the counter, I know you don't make these cakes, but do you have a friend in the bakery world who could make these custom cakes for me? I'm willing to pay you pay really well to have them made. And that person will look around to see where their supervisor is, and they'll write their cell phone number down on a slip of paper, and they'll give it to you, and they'll say, I do, okay? And then you can get them to actually make the custom cakes using Woolworths sugar and eggs and flour and everything else. That's how you get your custom cakes. Now, I want to share some live examples because I don't just talk about theory. Here's my Northwestern Mutual second-year financial advisor in the black suit. On his right-hand side, Dr. Faisal Ahmad in the Detroit General Hospital. And you can see that's a brain cake. Dr. Faisal Ahmad is a neurosurgeon. Cost of the cake, $193, including the box of Starbucks coffee and the cups. My guy from Northwestern Mutual delivers this cake to Dr. Ahmad on his birthday. He hits his WhatsApp group immediately, and he invites all of the gastroenterologists, the anesthetist, the cardiologist, the orthopedic surgeon in his WhatsApp group, says, get in here and check out my birthday cake and celebrate my birthday. And through the referrals that my guy got, he did $250,000 worth of commissions in the Detroit General Hospital in 1 year from a cake that cost him $193. Now, I'm not done, because what you've got to do when everybody gathers around. So you plan a surprise party for that business client of yours, call up his assistant and say, you know, it's John or it's Mary's birthday on Thursday. I'd like to come in on Wednesday with a custom cake and some sandwiches or whatever. And everybody gathers around. Then you say to everybody, why don't we take a selfie so that you guys can post it on Instagram or Facebook? We take a selfie, you get everybody's names through your clients of everyone that was standing there. You go and friend them on Facebook. They start posting this picture of you. People start flying in with comments going, gee, you know, Dr. Ahmed gets a custom cake on his birthday. I received a calendar in July from my broker, or I haven't heard from my broker for 3 years. Here's another one. Dr. Gatti, if we were in Mitchell's Plain, it would be Dr. Khati. Dr. Gatti is a dentist. There are 8 other dentists in the practice. The other 7 dentists became clients really, really quickly. So that's one campaign that you can run. And I want to encourage you to do a custom cake every week for the next year. You will be amazed at the company you'll start keeping. Then we're going to talk about a smoker campaign. You send out an email to all of your clients saying, we're having a campaign for smokers. Now, the non-smokers will open it because they're going to go, what the heck are you sending this to me for? I'm not a smoker. The smokers will open it because they think, oh, they're having a special on insurance for smokers, but we're not talking about cigarettes. I'm talking about a smoker. One of these that you can get at Builder's Warehouse for $3,890, put it on your credit card and pay it off over a while. And the deal goes like this, okay? Now, I was just first tell you, I was in Wisconsin, and when I worked in America, the compliance people were always in the room, and they had a red flag they would put up when I went off the rails in terms of compliance. And the people at New York Life in the room in Wisconsin said, the cost of that violates our gift giving regulations. You just can't spend more than $20 a year on a gift for a client. So I came back for the next module the next month, and I'd got a little copper brass platelet, deep etch engraved, you know, John Smith, financial advisor, with their cell number, and I'd riveted it to the roof of the smoker. And when I rolled out that example again, they put up the red flag. I said, no, it's not a gift. It's a business card with a smoker attached. We're allowed to hand out business cards. This one just happens to have a smoker attached. Well, they didn't like that example. They had a big committee meeting at head office about me. So I came back the next month, and I'd actually got these military dog tags, and I'd engraved the broker's name on there and hung it off the handle of the smoker. And it said property of John Smith's financial advisor with a cell number, which means that when you take the smoker to your client's house and set it up and show them how to use the smoker, it's not actually their property, but at the end of the braai, you kind of tie it and you just leave it there forever. But it's not their property. It's actually got your identification on it. Here's the campaign, okay? So what does the smoker cost you? Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. So we're having a campaign for smokers. Listen to the language, folks. And obviously based on margin, the short-term insurance people might want to move this number just a little bit. Put me in the room with 5 couples for an obligation-free exchange of ideas, and I'll deliver and teach you how to use your new smoker. Now you've got to think to yourself, are you that good, that polished, that professional, that awesome as a broker right now, that if I put you in the room with 5 couples who kind of demographically and economically similar to your top clients, that you're going to sell enough insurance to more than pay for the cost of the smoker? Of course you are. Okay, and of course you've got to see the 5th couple before the person gets the smoker, and that happens 2 months after you've seen the first couple, and you put the cost of the smoker on your credit card. So what did the smoker actually cost you? It cost you nothing, because you take out of commission that you otherwise wouldn't have earned. You make people a guarantee, and you should be using this client guarantee for all of your clients, okay? First thing is that I won't try and sell them anything. There's nothing for sale, okay? It's an obligation-free exchange of ideas. I won't stay longer unless they insist that I do, and the chances are that they'll know more about their money than they ever did before. Now, some of you work with high wealth clients and you have a high wealth clientele. You could take this concept of a campaign even larger. Now, remember, this is not commission rebating. Be very, very clear on the compliance aspect. You are not paying a person a kickback for buying a policy from you, okay? Just the same as you can take out a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn ad. In the old days, you could take out a Yellow Pages ad. You can take out an ad in Aviation Magazine saying, I specialize in financing light aircraft. If you're looking to buy a plane, you're looking to buy a boat, come and talk to me. And you actually have brokers that come and pick up that business. You just want the life cover on the loan or the debt. You too can plan a weekend on the boat, okay? This can cost you, my friend Steve in Cape Town owns the Jackie O, 15,000 Rand for 2 nights, including flights from Durban or Johannesburg, a welcome seafood dinner from Willoughby's aboard, and you can actually make that the first prize in your referral campaign. You know something? Your insurance companies get you to go hell for leather and run like crazy for a month or 2 months when they have some kind of competition or some kind of campaign. And using that same philosophy, I want you to get your clients competing. So maybe this becomes your first prize. Your second prize becomes 5 or 10 different smokers that you provide to people in exchange for putting you in the room with new clients. Some simple marketing concepts, folks, out there, whether you're using the arm and leg, the peanut butter jar, sending people the 10 Rand note, running a smoker campaign, buying birthday cakes for your clients, or having a granddaddy of prizes. You've got to get back to marketing, because it's the best marketer that wins the day. I'll remember in the old days, you know, Magnus Haystack was kind of a controversial guy, and there were a lot of jealous people about Magnus. I remember in the late 90s, or maybe it was the mid 90s, driving up towards Dainford, and there was a huge billboard that said, I live at Danefern, some personal financial advice from Magnus Haystack. Whether you like Magnus Haystack, whether you didn't like Magnus Haystack, more people knew Magnus Haystack's name than they knew your name. And I don't want you to be a secret agent. I want you to get out there and market yourself, because sales are an output of marketing. You've got to have a marketing machine and a marketing engine in place. That's what I specialize in. If you take 3 elements of your business, you've got a prospect to look for new clients. Then you've got to close or convert them, which is the conversation you have when you're with them. And then you've got to keep in touch with them to make sure that when they go through one of those 17 wealth or risk events again in their life, that you cycle them back to the prospect pool so that they shop with you again and again and again. I still believe that the ideal practice, doesn't matter what you sell, is around about 600 to 800 clients. Around about 600 clients, you're doing 3 annual reviews a day, 200 working days during the year. 1/4 of them every year have a need for what you sell. 3/4 of them don't, but it's a great opportunity to educate them, take them some of the tools that I share with you today, get back in front of them, re-solidify and cement the relationship with them, and walk away with a whole bunch of referrals. And we'll talk about referrals a bit later in this webinar as well. So that guarantees you 150 to 200 transactions a year. There's no one on this webinar who can starve if you're doing a transaction a day, every single working day during your business cycle. So let's talk about 4 different elements I wanted to cover with you as I kind of wrap up my opening statement here. It takes me a while to get going and warmed up here. We're going to talk about a system for magnetizing clients' attention. We're going to talk about balancing science and maths with psychonomics and creative conversation. Some great conceptual examples you can use. I'll touch very briefly on virtual meeting best practices, and we'll close our time out talking about LinkedIn strategies, and then we'll talk about our program, which is starting next week and going all the way through to the end of March, where I'm going to rock your world and literally put your income and client development on steroids in my partnership with the group from FAnews. So, a system for magnetizing clients, some background thoughts on getting your thoughts read and spread. I hope you subscribe to Shutterstock and using Shutterstock images in your presentations, your slides with clients, your communications with clients. It means if you present a financial plan, there's 3 pictures of 3 things that the client is interested in right on the cover, whether it's fishing or bridge or rugby or whatever. I hope you're using audio and attaching audio to your client communications. You can send an audio note by email, telling the client what you want them to do. You can film a little selfie video and attach it to an email as well. I hope that if you're creating valuable tools like the ones that I share with you today, that you're actually locking your logo and your contact details and your photograph there as well into a PDF, so that if they virally share those tools with other people, your name is getting out there as well. And I hope that you're using WhatsApp summaries when you want clients to read your emails. Don't think clients are reading your emails because you're sending them. You don't read all the emails you get, so why should your clients? So use WhatsApp voice notes or WhatsApp messages to say to your clients, I've just sent you a critical email without which you could be in cataclysmic financial trouble at some point in the future if you don't pay attention to it. Please, it's a 3-minute read. It's important that you read the email. Make sure that you triangulate your communication and that you really get people to pay attention. Always attach checklists when you send the tools I give you today. People I care about who need this information. My parents, kids, siblings, neighbors, work colleagues, my other advisors, my accountant, my attorney, etc. Always prompt people about who they should share your information with. What I'm going to do now, because we're sitting at exactly 49 minutes, and it's important that your energy and focus are with me, I'm going to pause for exactly 3 minutes now, which gives you time to quickly go and grab a cup of coffee. I'm going to turn my video off and I'm going to mute my mic. And what I want you to do during the 3 minutes, if you're not going to get a cup of coffee, is I want you to talk to colleagues you might be watching this with, or just sit by yourself and make a little checklist, a little cheat sheet, a short note to yourself of 3 things I've shared with you so far today that you could actually implement and apply and deploy in your business. Because before you know what's what, our 2 hours are over and you've paid attention, but maybe you haven't actually absorbed. So I'm going to time it at 3 minutes. I see we're at 105 people and growing. That's absolutely amazing. I'm going to stop my video for 3 minutes, take a quick breather, make a short list of the things that from today's session so far you could implement, and I'll see you again in 3 minutes' time. Thanks for investing your valuable time with me and the folks from FAnews today.
3-minute break.
All right, so you've had your 3 minutes. Let's talk about some power tools. Okay, we all know that a power tool operates better than one that doesn't have power, and hopefully you can use some of these tools. Mike, can you see my screen just to double check the technology here?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so the tools and resources I wanted to share with you. First of all, if you're a financial planner, why aren't you carrying a sample financial plan, hardbound, okay? Maybe die cut with the name of Elvis and Priscilla Presley, 5000 Graceland Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, with some sample graphs and charts. Most people don't know what a proper financial plan looks like. Most people are still just selling insurance without doing any kind of plan. They're going to make that illegal at some point in the future, so get used to it. There's two types of suffering, short-term and long-term suffering. Which do you prefer? But have a sample financial plan on your phone that you can share with people in a PDF to show them the science and maths of quality financial planning. Then we're going to talk about the pressure test, the checklist and agenda for family meetings, creating your ideal lifestyle in retirement, the last and final letter, the his and hers cards, and then I'll dive out of my slides and show you the estate directory and what it looks like. I'll send you a sample estate directory today. You should be working with estate directory, the greatest value adding tool that you could ever wish for in your client building. So the financial pressure test, I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to send it to you. It's 10 questions about people's money, and most people will fail this pressure test. Are you using a pressure test to get people to hold a magnifying glass over the risk management and the wealth creation in their life? I mean, let's just look at question 1. Has written financial strategy been documented and updated at least annually to adjust for changed circumstances, market trading conditions, and latest insurance carrier solutions? Most people fail the test right there. Second of all, was the appropriate inflation indexing used in creating and funding the strategy? Because there's inflation and then there's senior inflation, okay? Think about this. Doctors, pills, hospitals, Caribbean cruises, and university education go up by a lot more than the standard CPI, okay, consumer price index. And you shop from a basket of doctors, pills, hospitals, Caribbean cruises, and sponsor your grandkids' university more than you shop from the basket of bread, butter, eggs, and milk as you get older. So use a good pressure test with your clients. Put it on your website, put it on your social media. The agenda for the family meeting. Mission critical that you start facilitating family meetings. The people who come on the Reboot course with us, I'm going to be equipping you next week with everything that you need to do while you're on holiday. How'd you like to make more money than you've ever made before while on holiday and come back in January to a diary that is jam-packed full with prospective profitable clients? You have to facilitate 10 family meetings this December. 10 family meetings, a half a day each between now and the middle of January, asking these questions. Send this agenda out to your existing clients. Do mom and dad have a will? Are the executors aware of its whereabouts? Have the powers of attorney been in place, been accepted by the bank? Because it's the bank's favorite thing to reject the powers of attorney because they want to keep control of that money. Who's in control of the assets? Are the outside parties involved in those assets? Where are all the passports, the titles, the tax records, legal documents, proof of ownership, financial records of the parents? That's where their estate directory comes in. Has advice been received and reviewed in the last year to minimize the tax impact on their estate? What about end-of-life decisions and actions? At what point do adult children involve themselves in assuming control of the decision-making of the parents in terms of mental capacity? I want you to read through this for your family, your own extended family, folks. Charity begins at home, and maybe it's time that you actually had a facilitated family meeting with your family to practice this to use with clients. If parents remarry, what are the rights of the new step-parents in the children's life, okay? Dad predeceases mom because the men die first because they want to, okay? And now mom remarries. You don't like new stepdad. He's living in the big house in Westcliff or Constantia or in Kloof or Mshlanga, whatever. And now mom passes away. At what point does new stepdad move out of the house? And what happens if he spent a couple of $100,000 on renovations for the house? And what happens if his less wealthy children have other ideas about his right of occupation? Now you have a contested estate, and the only people who get wealthy in this process are the lawyers. What structure exists to ensure harmony and unity in the family? Who says that all 3 kids want to inherit the farm? Okay, the family farm. Is there enough cash available for one of them to exit that relationship and visit the farm if and when they choose to? What protections have been put in place to prevent the estate of either parent coming under attack from predators like an ex-spouse or hostile business partner? What about the disposal of family heirlooms, okay? Who says that all 3 of your kids actually want to inherit the Strathspey or the Stillby beach house? What happens if one of them lives in Toronto, and if parents run out of money before they run out of months, who assumes financial control of their medical and long-term care expenses? Because frail care in this country, the cost of frail care is going to go through the roof. A power tool for you to use, facilitating and asking those relevant questions of people's financial situation. Creating your ideal lifestyle in retirement. What an amazing, wonderful document for you to use as well. Okay. What kind of retirement do you want? What kind of friends do you want to have? Where do you want to live? What kind of holidays do you want to take? How do you want to contribute back to the community that put you where you are to be able to retire in comfort? How are you going to contribute your wisdom? How do you like to leave behind a legacy? Some really powerful questions. Then this one, which is one of the most powerful things that you could ever send to a client before you actually see them for that first meeting. Weave this into your annual review conversation. Make it a subject of your website, of your social media. It's called the last and final letter. This last and final letter is not a will, okay? A will is a list of which policies deliver which cash on the demise of the client. This is the letter that the family reads when they come back from your funeral, folks. And it's got to be presented to the client in a beautiful envelope, you know, like those upmarket wedding kind of envelopes. If you go to Herbert Evans Art Shop, you can get these wax seals. Put a wax seal on the back of the sample, last and final letter, calligraphy font on the front, so that it actually feels like almost a legal document. And you give this to your client, you ask them to open it and read it. Having emailed it to them, they might not read the email. And you ask them to complete a last and final letter. The amount of life insurance you sell will go through the roof, okay? And it basically says, you're reading this letter after my passing, and I wanted to let you know how dearly I love you and cherish our life's journey. I also need to leave you with some practical guidelines in dealing with the necessary preparations as you face your life ahead. It's a challenging time. Be strong. Get someone to help assist you, and feel free to share this letter if you're not strong enough to act on my advice alone. Step 1, where are all the documents? Step 2, all of the financial contacts, okay? Where are these financial contacts? Who needs to be informed of my demise? What else do you need to do? Cut up all credit cards, change my voicemail, redirect all email, the safety deposit box, re-register assets. My wishes for my funeral are the following. A cool thing to build in is on the one-year anniversary of my passing, I request that you host a celebration of my life for all the extended family members in the following manner. I want you all to go on a cruise. I want you to take the grandkids and everyone go to Disneyland. And that gets you to increase the amount of life insurance that spare million is there for the one-year anniversary celebration of that person's life. Change your will. Would you please set up a trust? If you want to remarry, do it for love, don't do it for money. Make sure that you protect the assets we built in our lifetime from the potential decline of any future marriage which you enter into. These are my final wishes with regards to charitable giving. Please don't leave the house unoccupied during my funeral. Apparently in the late 90s, they busted a syndicate in Johannesburg because we advertised the deaths in alphabetical order in the newspaper because people die in alphabetical order. And we actually used to tell people when and where the funeral was. And these crooks were actually waiting with a removal van around the corner from the house. Everybody went to the funeral and they helped themselves to the flat screen TV and all of the goods in the house. You could call that robbery or target marketing depending on your perspective. I sometimes wish we could take that genius criminal brain and get it to operate ethically. At least they'd know something about target marketing in the business. And these are the people who should be contacted for future advice. So the last and final letter, but folks, be a product of your product. You go and have a family meeting. You go and you'll write your last and final letter. You will be amazed at the emotions which it will evoke and sometimes the different decisions that you start taking as a result. As you know, I lived in Canada for a long time. One of my top producers there told me that his Gulfstream jet flying lawyer, who was involved in medical malpractice area of law, they both have a house in Kelowna, which is a beautiful part of Canada on the lake. And he sent the last and final letter and the checklist and agenda for family meetings and the state directory to his lawyer client before the annual review. They normally spend an hour doing the annual review every year. The lawyer phones him and he says, we need 3 hours for the annual review this year. He goes, why is that, Steve? He says, because I read the last and final letter and I did mine. And I read the family meeting agenda and I want to change everything because I've realized how unethical it is of me to share most of my assets with my natural born children and fewer with my stepchildren who I've been the stepfather of for the last 20 years. And I want to secure as much life insurance in addition to that, which I have. $25 million policy. It was a good month because of a last and final letter, checklist and agenda for family meetings, and their state directory. Then there's a cool thing, the his and hers challenge. And you literally produce these on 2 white cards. You can still hand out white cards. This is compliance approved for every single company. You're sitting with a couple at their kitchen table and you get the husband and the wife to complete this card without comparing answers. On what date will you retire as a couple? And what is the value of income producing assets that must be available on that date? And how much monthly income will you need to sustain your lifestyle? You will never get a couple having the same answers. And this is where a little bit of theater comes in, folks. Don't forget the art of selling, not just the science. You take these cards from this couple and you go, we have a difference of opinion here. My job is not to sell you some financial product and then disappear in your life. My job is to bring these opinions a little bit closer together using quality financial advice. And then we're going to talk about the estate directory. And I want to ask you a question. If you never made it home from work today, okay, or if you never made it to tomorrow, could your family, as a broker, as a financial advisor, investment specialist right now, could your family, with one hand, uplift absolutely everything that they need to transition your assets? I'm talking about all bank account details, all titles, all deeds, all documents, all tax records, all passwords, social media, your all of your accounts in terms of your social media accounts. What about that Clicks card, Vitality, South African Airways frequent flyer? Don't know if that's bankrupt like the airline is. Everything in your life. Shut down your Instagram. All the directions about absolutely everything. What's the alarm code for the family beach house, etc. Make sure that you actually have an estate directory. I'm not going to take the chance on diving out, but I'm going to send you the estate directory. The estate directory is a fillable PDF. This is very important. It's a fillable PDF, and people complete this, and you can put it on a financial key. If you can see me on video, Mike, with a financial key. Mike?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So you take this financial key, which is actually a USB device, and you save the fillable PDF of the state directory on there. This gets locked in a family safety deposit box, and the executives of their estate actually have to have the keys to their safety deposit box at the bank, or they have to have the combination to the family safe. Once you've got these, this is the kind of thing that you could be carrying around this December. Okay, you're sitting on the beach, you're on the golf course, you're at the neighborhood braai. Someone says, what do you do for a living? You look at them and say, I help people with their financial keys. I defy anyone to try that and have the person go, what's a financial key? You know that place, Johan, that you've got absolutely every single document, every record, every password, every bank account detail, all the instructions in one place in case you don't make it to tomorrow? Here's the key. You've got to get in front of your clients' parents. I want you to run a senior planning month, an elder planning month. I want you to ask all your clients who are 40 and 50 whether their parents have got everything in the right place. You would be amazed at what happens when you get in the room with seniors, and you've got to take them soft things like milk tap for those dentures, and you've got to take time and care and visit with them, and you help put everything in one place. Do you understand that if a person has got an estate directory completed with absolutely every piece of information to do with their existing life, shareholder agreements, what kind of policies they've got, which companies, what kind of bonds they've got, what about the jewelry, what about the keys, where's everything in your life? If you've actually got the person completing that before you meet with them for the first time, do you understand that it's the equivalent of doing a financial needs analysis? Because you can be going through the estate directory and you can say, this Hermanus house that I see you have, are all three kids in agreement that they want to inherit a Hermanus house? Why don't we ask the kids what they feel about that asset? Because you wouldn't believe the family fights that break out when we haven't left instructions behind and we haven't had a family meeting. So I'm going to send you a copy of my state directory. If you know how to change a PDF, you're more than welcome to take my logo off there and put your own details on there. Start using this fillable PDF with all of your clients. What a wonderful thing for you to give accountants and attorneys a fishbowl full of your branded financial keys for them to share with their clients, and make sure you look after them in terms of the flow of commission contractually. The reason accountants and attorneys don't share clients with you is because you don't share commission with them, but believe it or not, they're looking at getting into your business today. So have your clients complete this. The other thing, of course, is that in there, they've listed who the executors or their key contacts are, which gives you easy access to those people to introduce you to them in terms of a key family contact or executor. Next one I want to share with you is the family survey. And I want you to do a campaign with your clients using the family survey. Family survey is for clients who are older than 55. So you go to all of your clients who are older than 55 and you question what their kids think about their assets, okay? It's a 3-question survey. Let's look at the letter first. So the client, your parents who are over 55 actually send this to their kids. Dear, insert name of kid, in our work with so-and-so broker, we're evaluating our estate planning commitments. It's important to us that the transfer of assets creates family harmony and unity as opposed to discord and conflict. As the beneficiaries of our life's financial work, I'm sure you'd appreciate the opportunity to give us your opinion on this important issue. With this in mind, please complete the attached brief anonymous survey and forward it by regular mail. Now, obviously, you, the broker, will know which kid said what, but you never reveal that to the parents. You present them with the report. Very simple report on what the kids said. They'll share the results with us to start convening a family meeting at some point in the future to share thoughts and feelings around this aspect. I was working in Toronto. Jessica Kemp was coaching her from Freedom 55 Financial. She did 400 cases in her first year in the business. Isn't that awesome? 200 working days, 2 cases a day. Qualified for the top of the table in her second year. She sent out her first family survey. She came back to the program and showed me the one daughter has scratched out the questions and scribbled there, I don't care what you leave me, just don't leave me any assets that are also shared with you know who. I mean, is there a situation over there? Is there some conflict and tension to be managed? Let's look at the 3 questions for your family survey. Once again, this could be put on your website as a value-added tool to turn your website from just being a brochure to being a shop front with lead magnets that draws people in. Okay, first of all, what do you believe your parents are worth financially? Less than 5 million, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, or 20 plus. Second of all, how do you believe the assets are structured? What percentage in cash, shares, stock market assets, real estate, annuities, etc.? And the third one, through their estate, what would you prefer to receive? Receive a percentage of the assets as they're currently structured, inherit cash and investments only, or other. What it does is it sets up the conversation and the need and the disturbance and the intrigue for a family meeting. And let's talk about the family meeting agenda. And I want you folks to learn this stuff, folks. I want you to be able to talk as lucidly around this and as easily in a relaxed way as you see me doing. Obviously, I've taught this for 20 years, so it's easier for me. But here are the questions to raise the intrigue. So you're on the beach, you're at the braai, you're on the golf course. Person says, what do you do for a living? I help clients with their financial keys and I facilitate family meetings. And you're straight into a conversation with that person. Who gets mom's jewelry? Okay, because it better be written down or there is going to be a family fight. Okay, who says all 3 of your kids want to share or co-own a beach house together? Who gets control of dad's or mom's bank accounts? Okay, let's say that dad, that prescription medication isn't working for his achy hip anymore. And so he's on the golf course with his buddies and they're telling him about these new CBD or daha dripples. So dad his eyesight's not so good. So he's into an eyedropper full every day. So dad is 89 and stoned most of the time. And he's just taken up a new hobby with his buddies called skydiving. And he's liquidating his Investec account to buy a light aircraft for him and his friends. Okay. You can't walk into Investec Bank and say, I'm taking control of my dad's money because he's losing his mental marbles. If mom's got early dementia and believes that, oh no, Bin Laden wasn't shot. No. They made that for a Lifetime movie, okay? Bin Laden's actually on his way over from Muruleta Park right now with his friends to start the war, which is why mom's at Woolworths stocking up her new fridge with cold meats and salads to prepare for the war. You can't walk into Abs and take control of that situation unless there's actually valid powers of attorney in place. Very, very important. And I'm going to share this with you next. You don't say this to clients. We're talking as family here between coach and producer. But how often must we jumpstart Omar? Okay. At what point do we stop sustaining human life? Very, very, very important aspect. You know, my dad had a massive stroke coming this January. It'll be 3 years ago. And I flew up to George Airport. They were living in Knysna at that point. And my mom picked me up and he'd had a stroke the night before. And the doctor, the neurosurgeon, put an MRI of my dad's brain on that lighted box, and the front quarter was just mush. And the doctor said 97% morbidity within a month. If he's one of the 3% to survive the stroke, he will never walk, he will never talk, and he will never see again. The beautiful moment was the fact that my dad had taken that decision out of our hands. And my mom and I had a tearful hug in front of the neurosurgeon, and she took out of her handbag his living will. And it was kind of an interesting moment because she handed the living will to the neurosurgeon and said, then you need to read this. And he put his hands up and he said, is that a living will? Mrs. Morris? She said, yes. He said, I cannot touch that piece of paper. I'm guided by the Hippocratic Oath to sustain human life. He says, you can read it to me, you can paraphrase it, you can instruct me from it, but I will not ethically touch that piece of paper. And my dad's instructions were that if, in the opinion of 3 independent medical specialists in the life event which he'd suffered, or the medical catastrophe, his quality of life wouldn't be the same, we are to suspend all support. And my brother flew up from Cape Town. My other brother lives in Knysna already. And we suspended all life support on the Saturday. The doctor said he'd be gone by the Sunday. But my dad was a control freak and always did things on his terms. So he went and lived for 2 weeks. It was actually, on reflection, quite an interesting 2 weeks, because my mom and I got to do so much together with their financial advisor. We shut down credit cards, we moved assets, we moved things around, we changed the names on accounts before my dad actually passed away. But very, very important. At what point do you not sustain human life? All of these things have got to be documented. And that leads you to a family meeting. I'm not going to read this to you, but this is the article or the setup email that you'd use with your clients to justify having a family meeting. You can see there are quite a few slides here. You'd insert your name there and talk to your clients, and you would attach the checklists and agendas for the family meetings and send it out to them in terms of why you need to have a family meeting. Very, very important part of planning. Now I want to talk to you about communication in general. We said it before, you've got to triangulate your communication. Don't just send your clients an email, send them a WhatsApp message summarizing that email, or send them a voice note or a little selfie video of yourself telling people what it is that you're actually looking for in terms of them paying attention to your communication. Let me just mute everybody again.
Hey, don't go.
There we go. Okay, so let's move on now. You've got to customize everything for people, okay? Don't use normal email. You don't have to. Your client, Johan Blanche, is a fishing addict. Mari, his wife, is a bridge champion. Their oldest son, Pitt, plays provincial high school rugby. When you're setting up that annual meeting or that annual review, this is where it helps to have a Shutterstock account, because you can buy 10 Shutterstock images a month. They're next to nothing, and you have the license to use them. So don't send the boring as hell meeting with the Blanche family about the annual review. This becomes, with a condition report and guide at your side, catching big financial fish in the next year as possible. I'll show you how tomorrow, Johan. If you play your cards right in the next 12 months, chances are we'll enjoy a winning hand and stay smiling. We'll review how tomorrow, Mari. And avoid being crash tackled by fear and emotional decision-making. Learn how to score in every game when we review tomorrow. Next thing, I want to talk to you about meeting agendas. Here's the most powerful, simple meeting agenda that you could use with clients. Don't go in and assume that you know what they want to talk about. Send this meeting agenda to clients the day before meeting with them. What needs to be discussed for us to believe that this was a great use of our time? Because things happen in clients' lives that you don't know about, and we've got to stop being product peddlers. We've got to become problem solvers. And this kind of meeting agenda can really help to get to those pain points in their financial situation that need discussing. Get the other professionals in your client's life to advocate for you. Give them the power tools to use. Some of you can afford to do what I'm going to tell you to do now, and there's no better use of your money besides registering for our program that you could use to turn this investment into a wonderful return. I want you to buy an hour of your business client's accountant's time. Buy an hour of their time. Get your client to send a note to them that says, Mike, it occurred to me that you've never met with my financial advisor. They'd like to show you the planning we've done around our risk management, our short-term insurance, our investments, and our life insurance and estate planning. They'd like to buy an hour of your time. They've asked you to invoice them in advance. When you offer to buy a professional's time for, let's say, $1,000 an hour, $1,500 an hour, two things happen. First of all, they become miraculously available instantly. It's not like they say, well, I'm really busy till Easter next year. Miraculously, there's a gap in their diary really quickly. The second thing is, because you've bought an hour of their time, it says everything about you. Use SARS's money, pay less tax, and buy an hour of that professional's time and pay that fee. The other thing is, because you bought an hour of their time, at the end of the day, you get to use the whole hour. You paid $1,500 for the hour. They don't get to cut the meeting short after 15 minutes. What are the things you share during those hours? that hour, a sample financial plan, the power tools that we talked about. Do you know that about 50% of the time, that person at the end of the hour, that accountant or that attorney will turn around and say, you know, you've taught me so much, would you look at my situation? And then you can enter into a contractual arrangement with them where you start sharing with your fees, sharing your commissions with them. They invoice you as a professional fee. And now suddenly you have 4 accountants, 4 attorneys who marching you into their client base. And those are automatically bigger, better clients to do business with. The great Gideon du Plessis, who's been #1 at Old Mutual since Paul Kruger played for Diggers, since the Anglo-Boer War. Gideon, on one of my seminars, and this cost me $10,000 to pay him as a speaker, I'm giving it to you for free today with 2 CPD hour credits as well. Gideon said, elephants don't bite, mosquitoes do. Hang around with the elephants. Big clients are better than small clients, and that's the end of the discussion. So consider that, folks. Let's talk about balancing science and maths with psychonomics and creative conversation, because it's not just about the numbers. It's how you describe what you do to people. Let's give you some conceptual conversations that get remembered forever. Walk into your business client with a fire extinguisher. Borrow it from the reception area if necessary. You put that fire extinguisher on the table and say, John or Mary, we buy these hoping that we never need to use them. And as you expand your business and you rent more premises or buy more properties, you buy more fire extinguishers. And you'll notice there's a tag here that says when we had the last maintenance or service check on this equipment. Your life insurance is exactly the same. You buy it hoping that you'll never need to use it, and you kind of put it away over there, but you want to make sure that it's working for you, which is why we do annual reviews. The next one, a measuring tape. I want you to get a 1 meter measuring tape, okay? 100 centimeters. You can buy these in China for next to nothing. And what you do is you want to explain retirement planning to people. You do this. You say, Renette, how old are you? She says, 42. You go, snip at 42. And you drop that on the ground. You say, when were you hoping to retire? Renette says 65. You go, snip. At this point, you'll be eating into assets from age 65 onwards. These are all of the years you've got left to do all of your retirement planning. When would you like to start? Then you have your fridge magnet with the little piece of tape. You tell her to go and stick that on her fridge at home, because we all know that we open our fridge 5 or 6 times a day to remind us of how little time we have left. And the final one is the toilet plunger, okay? Go down to Builder's Warehouse and get yourself a fresh new toilet plunger. You walk into the business owner's office with a toilet plunger. You say to them, we buy these hoping that we'll never need them, okay? But if your toilet is backed up and flooding and you don't have one of these at arm's length, you'd be in deep you know what. Well, your disability income protection and your dead disease coverage is exactly the same. You don't get to phone me on the way back from the oncologist or on the way back from that catastrophic accident, vehicle accident you had, saying, can I still get that insurance because now I'm disabled? What a great way to have a little bit of fun and re-energize your sales process. Walk into a business owner with a fire extinguisher, a toilet plunger, and a measuring tape around your neck. You'd be amazed at the company you start keeping and the stories that get told about you. Next thing, and this is for the short-term people especially, what are the 3 things, Mr. or Mrs. Client, that you never ever want to invest in? Discounted parachutes, expired condoms on sale, and cheap insurance coverage, because there's no such thing as cheap insurance. All of those companies advertising on TV that they can say you're on premium, let's look at that deductible, let's look at the fine print, because we all use the same mortality tables and we all use the same claims tables globally and nationally and provincially and within cities, because there's no such thing as getting it cheaper from someone else. Someone else is using benefits that they don't pay out to claimants to be able to buy more advertising on television to get you to the door of their business. There's still a time for us to tell stories to people. Let's talk about some story selling. Gary DeMoss, D-E-M-O-S-S, if you want to write it down. Gary DeMoss, D-E-M-O-S-S, one of the greatest MDRT speakers on story selling. And you want to use stories to talk to people. If you've got a golfing client, you've got a client who really understands golf, what you want to do is you want to actually say to them, you know, it's the club championships. You reach into the boot of your car and you take out your bag, and your bag is filled with drivers. How are you going to get out of the sand? How are you going to be able to chip from the fringe? How are you going to be able to take that 10-foot putt to make sure that you get par and you actually lead the field? You can't do that just with a driver. That's why we have different clubs for different situations. So too do we have different asset classes and different financial solutions to solve different financial problems.
My job is to expose you to the kind of clubs that you need for a winning game always. Story selling says that you make the unknown known by using the familiar. You see, the client doesn't understand your business. They don't. They understand their business. So you've got to make the unknown known by using the familiar, which is what they understand. I'll give an example. You're sitting with a dentist client. Mr. or Mrs. Dentist, do you do x-rays before you start drilling and filling? Well, of course we do. Are you a top teeth or bottom teeth dentist? No, we deal with the top and the bottom teeth. And if there's a gum issue, you bring in a periodontist, okay? You would bring a specialist in for a specific area of dental health, of course. And you do regular cleaning and you offer your clients checkups and encourage them to come in for checkups, absolutely. Well, Mr. or Mrs. Dentist, we're actually in exactly the same business. I want to take a picture of your entire situation. We call that a financial needs analysis. I have a holistic approach. I take a look at all of your assets, all of your risks. We put them all on the table. Where I need to call in a specialist, I have world-class bespoke specialists. And of course, we have regular cleaning and checkups. We call those client reviews, where we get together, because your life doesn't change every year, but our life and our solutions and the kinds of products that we have to solve problems do change. The farmer, Mr. Farmer, do you do crop rotation based on different seasons? Of course. Do you constantly diagnose the cow's milk, making sure that they've got the correct udder health and everything else? Of course. You've got drought management. Every 3 or 4 years, you've got to accommodate a drought in your financial planning. And you're a specialist farmer. You don't farm chickens and peaches and avos and cattle. You specialize. We're exactly the same. We have different financial solutions for different financial seasons. We do constant pressure testing of your situation. We've got to allow for the fact that every 3 or 4 years, markets are going to go sideways, markets go up, markets go down, but markets only ever actually go up. Do you know that during lockdown, an interesting one for you, from February this year until now, we went through a decline from 29,000 in the Dow Jones down to 18,000 and back up to 29,000. Okay, it would have been a wonderful buying opportunity for someone to actually dive in to the market if they had faith and take advantage of the fact that markets always recover. Then another benefit-laden statement to use with your clients. What we do is so that you can, which means that. Let's take a look at this. What we do is to reposition your family balance sheet so that you can restore confidence in your financial future, which means that you get to keep more money and control inside your family instead of in the hands of outsiders. For the short-term people, what we do is audit your short-term insurance expenses so that you can eradicate waste while increasing your coverage, which means that you get to keep more money and control in your family instead of in the hands of the wrong insurance companies. Always apply your benefit statements to this matrix. What we do is so that you can, which means that. Now I want to take through a quick conceptual selling example. I'm going to move through it really quickly, which is one of the more amazing ones which I've used for those of you that do retirement planning. And we call it the pot. And I'm going to share the build of the slides as we go along. Mr. or Mrs. Client, would you like me to tell you what's going to happen when you retire, or would you rather have me show you? Give people a choice between tell and show. They're always going to choose show. And what you do on a piece of paper is you draw a nice big pot. Very simple, symbolic, conceptual pot. When you retire, we take all of your assets and we put them into one big pot to create a certain level of assets. And you draw 4 arrows downwards into the pot and you label them. Arrow number 1 is your cash. Arrow number 2 is your RA and pension. Individually held shares are unit trusts and property holdings. You can change the asset mix if you choose. I just chose those 4. And on the day of your retirement, we open a tap on the side of the pot and we allow income to trickle out. So you draw a tap on the side. On the day of your retirement, we open a tap on the side of the pot and we allow income to trickle out. The big question we face, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, is how much income can we allow to flow out of the tap to ensure that you run out of years before you run out of assets and income and still leave something behind for the kids? I'll say it again. How much income can we allow to flow out of the tap to ensure that you run out of years before you run out of assets and income and still leave something behind for the kids? Our company is fundamentally conservative. We recommend a maximum of a 5% annual withdrawal off the asset base in the pot every year. And you write down 5% next to the tap. We know that you can achieve around about a 10% average annual return across a wide enough variety of asset classes over a long enough period of time. You are not guaranteeing anything. If you're the compliance police listening to this, I'll debate you to the end of the earth on it. around about an average annual return across a variety of asset classes over a long enough period of time. So you write 10% at the top of the page. We furthermore know we have to deduct an allowance for tax, and we need to deduct an allowance for inflation, which typically runs at 2-4%. So you take 10%, you deduct tax, you deduct inflation, leaves you with a net 5%. Now here comes the killer app question. How much income do you want for your family every year through your retirement? How much income do you want for your family every year through your retirement? Let's say the client says they want $1 million a year. Do you want this number to stay the same all the way through your retirement? So underneath $1 million, you draw a straight line, okay? Do you want this number to stay the same all the way through your retirement? Or do you want this number to decline as you get older and less healthy? Now, occasionally you have a smart aleck as a client who says, no, the number needs to increase. You go, why? They say for cost of living. You say, no, we already took that out in the top line. We're dealing with the bottom line number, the 5%. We already dealt with inflation in the top line, okay? So that's how you deal with a smart aleck. We're dealing with a net figure. And here's where you've got to really learn to speak really, really quickly. Well, Mr. Client, if you want 1 million rand to flow out of the pot every year throughout your retirement, make sure that you run out of years before you run out of assets and income and still leave something behind for the kids. How much needs to be in the pot on the day that we open the tap? And you keep quiet. You don't say keep quiet, you just keep quiet. And you keep quiet and you look at the client. And unless there is a chartered accountant, white smoke will come out of the ears. You say to them, let me run that by you again. If you want $1 million to flow out of the pot every year through your retirement, make sure that you run out of assets, run out of years before you run out of assets and income and still leave something behind for the kids. How much needs to be in the pot on the day that we open the tap? And you need to have a big calculator on hand. This is where theater comes in, folks, to allow the client to do the maths. That provides essential drama and engagement. I'm talking about a big calculator. That's a great tool to leave in your client's desk at work with a little plastic sleeve of business cards behind it, because everybody's going to pick up and look at that calculator, and your client will draw the pot and show them how clever they are about their money. If you want to have a 5% net income come out of there, you need 40 million rand in the pot on the day that you retire. You're going to need 40 million in the pot on the day that you retire. You're taking out for tax, you're taking out for inflation, net 5%. And underneath that, you write 1, 2, and 3, and you say, can you show me 3 places that you're going to get that money? Because I've got some great powerful ideas if you're willing to take a careful and considered look. Use the pot with your clients. I'm building links into the slides. I'm not going to go into the website. Lifehappens.org for those on the life side of the business. Unbelievable resources and tools for you to consider using at the end of the day. Stories, claim stories, calculators. It's filled with resources for you. Because folks, once again, robots are never going to do it. Robots are never going to replace you. Even Amazon, if you know what Alexa is, in January this year, put 25,000 people in call centers in Virginia to try and add a human element to Amazon Alexa and try and train the robots to become more human. Because people aren't interested in dealing with a robot. People are not going to buy directly, not in the high advice market, not in the top 20% of the economy where you're ideally focusing your attention as a broker. Okay, another quick story. Friend of mine, Terry Headley, past president of NAFA, lives in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm doing a talk for his brokerage when I was in town speaking for NAFA. I was staying at his house. He said to me, we're going up the road for a drink with my buddy. I play pool with my buddy every Wednesday night between 5 and 7. And we go three doors down, and there's the house on Terry Street. And it's not Terry's house. It's Warren Buffett, the sage of Omaha. And I got to spend 2 hours in the basement at Warren Buffett's house with Terry, Warren, and I, having a couple of beers and playing pool. I didn't take any selfies. That would have been rude. And it's interesting. I asked Warren what he does before he invests in or buys a business. And he said, oh, Anthony, Tony, he called me. Tony, that's easy. First of all, I personally interview the last 50 people to leave the company that I'm considering buying. Second of all, I play golf with the person or bridge or whatever game they play. If they play tennis, I play tennis too. He says, because on the third time, you'll establish how the person behaves on the golf course. And that says everything about their character. And the women are going to love this one. He says, because my wife has the final say. He says, if my wife, we dine with the couple 3 or 4 times. And if my wife's not feeling it, he says, I won't invest in the company. He says, she's never been wrong. It's interesting. Warren Buffett has 4 rules for wealth creation. There's a book you can buy called The Buffett Way. You can get it. You can see a used copy for 83 US cents. I want you to carry this book around with you for clients, okay? Carry a copy of Warren Buffett's book around with you. Rule number one, and the only 4 things Warren Buffett says: manage risk. That's why Warren Buffett likes to buy insurance companies. Rule number one to become wealthy: manage risk. Don't build an ice cream castle in the sun, it's going to melt. Don't build an skyscraper on quicksand. Rule number 2, own the bricks. Because if you own mortgage-free property, it's like owning your own bank. You can take those assets to the bank, you can use those assets to leverage and to take an opportunity to take out a loan and take advantage of conditions in the stock market. Rule number 3, buy shares. Notice Buffett doesn't say transact shares or trade shares. He says buy shares, okay? If you, just after the First World War, when there was a global shortage of sugar, bought Coca-Cola, 1 share of Coca-Cola cost you $1 back then. And if you reinvested all the dividends and distributions in Coca-Cola stock, from 1920 to 2020, your $1 is worth $1 million in Coca-Cola stock. In 2019, the CEO of Coca-Cola got $70 million in share options and salary. Warren Buffett got $700 million in dividends because of the Coca-Cola stock that he owns. So buy shares, okay? And then Buffett says, rule number 4, invest in self, which means if you've got a business, if you are dependent on yourself for income, make sure you have the best kind of insurance, the most kind of insurance possible. And this is the good old MDRT stuff, okay? If you have a goose that lays the golden eggs, would you insure the goose or would you insure the eggs? You'd insure the goose. If you had a money machine in your garage and a license to print money from the South African government, wouldn't it make sense to take the first bundle of money that you print and buy a service contract or warranty to make sure that that machine gets fixed really quickly if it gets broken, which is why you had to have to insure your greatest asset. Your greatest asset, South Africa, is not your house unless it's got no bond and it produces income for you. And most houses don't produce income for you. Your greatest asset is your ability to produce income. How many paychecks till retirement? Let's make sure we have insurance on those paychecks as well. So you've got to carve a niche of simply sensational discussions that become one-liners that your clients can tell people about and that they can share with people. Do you know it's entirely possible to be worth 10 million at age 65 and only 5 million after 10 years of consecutive market growth at age 75? Lay that one on someone on the golf course this holiday. They're going to go, that sounds mathematically incorrect. You go, it's the order and sequence of returns, not the magnitude of returns that counts. Money lost early in a market decline acts as an accelerant on all subsequent returns, especially when human emotions intervene, okay? Because the greatest financial risk in retirement, is it identity fraud? Is it losing your health? Is it inheriting your grandkids, losing your mental faculties, making bad investment decisions? It's not. It's outliving your money, lasting beyond the expiry date on your financial plan. What is the expiry date on your existing financial plan? Longevity risk is an accelerant of all other risks in retirement. Every 1 year that you outlive your plan impoverishes your kids and family by 5 years of income, after tax and because of the opportunity cost of their lost resources. So let's get out there and talk to people. Another great one, simple 3x5 card, husband and wife. Say to the husband, write down how much life insurance you own. 1/3 of the time he has to hide that from his spouse because he was the big man at the casino at the company conference, blew up his credit card, came back and asked you to lower how much coverage he's got. And so he writes down how much life insurance he's got. You say, Bob, we're going to play a game. It's called You're Dead. And because you're dead, you can't speak. Take the card, give it to the spouse, and you say, spend it. In about 7.5 seconds, it's gone. Paid off bond, kids in university. You go, wow, that money didn't last that long. 7.5 seconds. My job is to make sure that your money lives a little bit longer. Let's talk quickly about virtual meeting best practices, okay? Why is working virtually a great opportunity, if you just get your head around it, to double your productivity and quadruple your income into 2021? Less petrol. Clients are now trained and they're looking for virtual interaction, okay? I'm doing some work outside of the financial business with Deloitte. They tell me that globally there's an interesting trend, especially of women who are going to their company and saying, I like this working from home thing. I don't have to put on makeup an hour a day. I don't have to spend all that money on fancy outfits and sit in traffic. You need to change my job to allow me to work from home while I'm taking my talents and skills elsewhere. There's less traffic, there's less workplace distractions, no wasted time. If clients are late, you just switch it out. You didn't drive there. No 1 hour of makeup, hair if you're a woman, etc. You can eat your own food. You spend less money on lunches, less pollution, and you have far less transfer time between tasks. Within 5 minutes of ending this meeting, I'll be sending out the recording, having edited it briefly. I'll be sending out the slide bank. FAnews will send them to you. Together we outline so that you can register for the reboot program, and then I'll move on to something else, and it just makes us super, super efficient. Now, self-isolation doesn't excuse being sloppy, so let's talk about that. Timing, pace, and balance are important in a virtual consultation, but content, concepts, and conversation are far more important. I had a huge argument with a speaker friend of mine who says you mustn't sit during your Zoom meeting. You must stand there so that your energy is there. You can be in people's face. You can be challenging them. I said, you know, my stuff's not about me. It's all about the words. It's all about the tool. I want them focused on the slides. I don't want them focused on me, which is why I tend to choose to sit during these sessions so that you can focus on the content, because that's where the real value from this comes, not the stories I'm telling. When you have virtual meetings, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to have an objective. You've got to have a timed agenda. Even if it's a 30-minute meeting, you've got to have a scribe taking down the right notes, agree to working rules, when are you going to mute when I'm presenting, etc., and agree how the actions will be recorded. Leave people wanting more at every engagement. Use story, use picture maps, and get immediate commitment. There's an example of a great follow-up. I'm sending this to you so that you can print it out and use it. Our plan for today, here's where we're at. These are the actions we're taking. Who's doing what next? This is much better than some kind of boring email summary of the meeting that you had with your clients. And then we're going to talk about LinkedIn briefly, because this is uber powerful. Microsoft paid $26 billion to buy LinkedIn. 26 billion. Why would Microsoft pay 26 billion to buy LinkedIn? Because they just want to know who Renette Whitehead is interested in, what group she's part of, who she's connected to, where she spends her time, what kinds of articles she reads, what things she's interested in. And it was a steal, actually, for them to spend $26 billion buying LinkedIn. So let's talk about LinkedIn, because they say, HubSpot recently, since lockdown, says there's a 3 times higher visitor to lead conversion than Facebook and Twitter. 3 times higher, 277% higher. I'm not saying don't do Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but LinkedIn is the business-to-business networking. What does this mean for you? If you're not teaching your ideal prospects what you know about insurance, retirement, and money, take today's seminar and teach it in bits. Use these tools on LinkedIn and be actively seeking out followers in the niche markets that you seek. If you're sitting at your desk as an expert waiting for people to come to you with their money or asset protection issues, you've lost the game before you actually started. Advisors with half your experience and intelligence are grabbing market share like a Black Friday special on flat screen TVs at Macro. And so you've got to go digital, and you've got to avoid making some of the errors. Some of the errors people make on LinkedIn, sharing way too much of the wrong kind of information. Frankly, you got an award. I'm very happy for you, but your award doesn't change my life. Okay, what is the information? If you want to sell John Brown what John Brown buys, you have to see John Brown through John Brown's eyes. Not using story or analogy enough. Use today's stories on LinkedIn. Having a bad profile using the wrong colors. We know that blue is the color of trust, green is environmentally friendly, and those are the colors you should stick with wherever possible for any graphics on LinkedIn. This has been psychologically proven. Spelling and grammar or unpolished language. I pulled this off a post the other day. It's riddled with errors. It's riddled with the wrong kind of language. And this person shouldn't be on LinkedIn showing how bad they are as a professional. Your profile. Your profile typically needs some work. There's not enough personal video content. Everybody knows Kobus Klein. I'm a big fan of his. You can see at the bottom there, 4,202 views of his video. And this video pops up and auto plays in LinkedIn. You can't avoid it. You click on that post and up comes Kobus talking to you about something relevant in a 4-minute video. Use video to your great effect. No client testimonials and no easy to use tools and calculators. I'm not going to go through the State Farm calculator, but I want you to make a side note to yourself because I want to stick to time out of respect for the rest of your day. Make sure you go through the State Farm calculator and look at the kind of insurance calculators your company should be providing with. Put me in touch with your management for me to do a session with your managers on the kinds of equipment and tools which are missing from your client engagement process. I'd love to add some value to their life. Client testimonials, video testimonials from clients. Not integrating yourself enough in content. Very, very important to do this, okay? Quick example. Here's an Allstate short-term insurance commercial, and we've got the guy staring out from the product. They say that there's a greater by 44% greater engagement if you're looking at the product. So if there's some kind of product, some kind of copy, have yourself looking at the copy or the product if you're going to be doing any kind of advertising or promotion. Not enough claim stories. Here's the question. If you were selling what you post on LinkedIn right now, would people actually pay you for the posts? Articles, complete waste of time. I promise you people are not reading articles. You've got to be able to put it into a post, maybe with a link to a video, and that's as much as you need out there on LinkedIn. So what I want to do is I want to summarize and I want to conclude. I'd like to thank FAnews. Don't dive off because the best news is about to come. And if you sign up today, you get the steak knife set as well. I'm just kidding. So FAnews and I have teamed up. This was just really just a prosciutto, a thin slice of the quality of concepts and campaigns and valuable conversations I believe you should be having with your clients. So we're proudly launching today the FAnews Anthony Morris Reboot 3-month program. This is a 3-month intensive short course, 12 CPD hours, live presentation by myself. So if you didn't like me today, you're going to hate seeing me 12 times. Again, it's a 3-month course. You can see that all of the sessions run at the same time every week. We kept to the same day every week between 9 and 10 a.m. We're kicking off next week on the 9th of December with the first session, because what I need to do quickly is I need to equip you with the tool chest that you need and the pre-packaged campaigns for you to take between now and let's say the middle of January and turn it into the best holiday season that you've ever had before. Because folks, we've all got some realigning to do. We need to reboot our income, re-engage our clients, and turn your social life, whether it's at the braai, on the golf course, on the beach, into a time where we can have really engaging conversations with people. And it's my goal, quite frankly, that you get a 10 times multiple return on your course fee by the time you actually come back to me in January. So you can see session 1 is next week. We then come back on the 19th of January, run consecutively all the way to the 13th of April, skipping out the Easter weekend period as well. And you'll be able to join me live as well. Course fee is $3,900 plus VAT per attendee if you're paying in 3 installments. I understand times are tough and cash is dear. If you need to pay it off, you can make your first payment before the 4th of December of 1,300 Rand plus VAT, and then consecutively on the 20th of January, 20th of February. Obviously, we reward those that take care of their bill up front. It's 3,000 Rand plus VAT per attendee, payable by the 4th of December. Yes, that's this Friday. Borrow your wife's credit cards, sell some stuff on Gumtree or eBay, do what you have to do, put your kids out to work, but make sure that you don't miss it. After all, it's literally 1 or 2 extra policies you need to sell to be able to cover your investments. And then you get the entire tool chest for the rest of your life. I promise you haven't got time for repetition on this course. We back up the course with this entire library of ebooks. Frankly, if you paid me 3,000 Rand plus VAT just to get your hands on these ebooks, over 2,000 pages of documents and tools, ideas, scripts, campaigns, checklists, templates, strategies, everything you need in different aspects of the business, okay? How do you conduct an effective client seminar? How do you get your clients reading your emails? How do you generate rivers of referrals? How do you have a wow experience in your practice? Sizzling sales ideas, special reports, telephone techniques, turning professional development days into paydays. How do you run a trade show booth at the triathlon, at the cycle race, having people really like a magnet coming and wanting to talk to you about their money? How do you get accountants and attorneys to actually engage you? We're going to be sending out the course outline together with a link to today's recording and today's slides as well. That'll hit you sometime during the early course this afternoon. You'll receive the course outline plus a registration link. You can register. We need to get all payments handled by close of business on Friday. So if you can make sure that you do that, it would be awesome to welcome you. From my side, finishing just a little bit early. And if anyone has any questions, I guess with 104 people, you've been magnificent on staying on here. I hope it's not just for the CPD credits, because we do have a record of those that are still on board. Thank you very much for participating. To Renette and Michelle and the great design team and everybody at FAnews, you guys are amazing to work with. Best partnership I could ever have reached out for into 2021, as FAnews and I reach out there to not only rehabilitate, but to actually repair this industry, which we all are part of, and which is so very, very dear to all of us. It's an industry that's fed us well. We've got clients that desperately need our help. I want to encourage you to register for the Reboot program, share it with industry colleagues, those that should be on the program as well. Share the recording with them too. And I hope to see you on the program commencing next week. From my side, thank you very, very much. I'm around for the next 10 minutes. If anyone does want to unmute and ask me a question, you're more than welcome to. I'll unmute. You can unmute yourself and ask me anything that you might have. From my side, thanks very much. Thanks, FAnews, and we will see you all soon. Thanks for joining us today. All right. Does anyone have a question?
Hi, Anthony. How are you?
Hi, Blessing. How are you?
I'm well. Just a quick one. Very interesting presentation. I really appreciated it. I just wanted to check, do you have similar material for B2B sales? So more institutional sales? Do you have something similar? Because I think the content is excellent. I mean, you can replicate it in a corporate discussion, but is there something that's more tailored for that you have in your toolbox?
Are you talking that, are you a broker consultant, or you're not in the insurance and investments industry at all?
I am in the insurance investments, but I look after sales for into retirement funds and provident funds. So I sell corporate umbrella funds for companies.
Yeah, if you can just send through FAnews, send me a note or send me your email address. We can go offline and discuss that. The answer is absolutely yes, definitely. There's an employee benefits toolbox and version of this that one can coach you and your colleagues in, as well as a separate course about how you differently engage them and equip them and make sure that you keep the loyalty of those funds under your management.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Renette, if you're still online, if you wanted to, any comment from your side, from FAnews side, in terms of the project?
From my side, Anthony, it's great to partner with you. We are very happy. I think it was a great, very valuable session. And even I got a few tips from you, and I'm not even dealing with, I'm not a broker or financial advisor per se, but there was definitely quite a few tips and tricks that I've learned. So I'm very excited to be part of this journey and very excited to be partnering with you. So thank you very much.
Awesome. It would be rude to say to a woman, you can teach an old dog new tricks. You can.
Yes, it will.
An elegant industry leader, some new tactics, and hopefully you've gained that, and it's provoked some thoughts for your own personal situation as well, I'm sure, in terms of the family meeting and everything else.
Yes, thank you very
Any
much.
other comments or any other questions from anybody else?
Virtual screen at the back. Yeah.
All right, doesn't look like that. So I'm going to sign off from my side. Thanks very much for joining us. Do share the opportunity to do the program with your colleagues. And we will get everything sent out to you this afternoon. And go ahead and register for the course. I can't wait to work with you. It's going to be a stunning, amazing December. And I'm going to set you up guaranteed for your very, very finest first quarter ever next year. And before we know what's what, we'll be wiping the sleep from our eyes. And COVID will be gone. We'll be back to the new normal, and hopefully be better people because of it. So with thoughts and prayers for anyone who's suffered a loss during these sad times, our hearts go out to you. May God be with you, and I hope that your businesses individually will grow from strength to strength. Thank you for investing your valuable time with myself and FAnews today, and we'll see you soon.